video starts, I'm gonna say I actually learned how to use the voice changer, so so the voice has changed in this video. You'll definitely notice it on the Slenderman part. Hi guys, Darcy Kirby XL back here with another You Don't Scare Me. I just realized when I was filming, right before I started recording this, that I messed up. I read 2 chapters last time, and I thought I only read 1. Then I just realized I read 2, so I just quickly changed that. So there's actually 2 chapters in that one video. I just realized that, I don't know how. And some real exciting news for me, and maybe for some of you. I'm gonna actually, so by June 25th, I'm gonna have enough money to buy a YouTube setup. So I'm gonna have a PC, a mic, a camera, and a backgrounding. And then around that time, I'm actually planning on making a short film. It's gonna be called Alex the Killer. It's gonna be based on my new creepypasta that I made. Right into this one. You Don't Scare Me, chapter 27. Third person point of view. You breathed deeply as you drug an old rag into the blanket after a full hot soapy water. You've been scrubbing the filthy floors of the mansion for the past hour and a half. It has been almost a month since you have completed the clown's round 1. And the game left your body totally broken. Literally broken. So instead of sitting in EJ's room, feeling sorry for yourself, the clown gave you something to do as soon as you gained the ability to work. He gave you the job of housemaid. You spent your days cleaning the blood and dirt off of the mansion floors and picking up after the members of the household. Some members would taunt you, and others would simply walk by and ignore you, as if you weren't even there. You sighed to yourself as you dropped the wet cloth back into the bucket. You just finished washing the main corridor of the mansion. You stood up slowly. Your calf injury was a lot better. Well, it still needed more time until you were back to normal, or at least you would like to think you could return to normal. But that was becoming more and more unlikely as each day went by. Thankfully, picking up the bucket, you walked through the kitchen to the back door. Luckily, no one was there to bother you. You hated into members of the house. They would harass you and get into the way of what you were doing. Most of the time you cleaned during the day. It seemed as though the house was non-occupied. This made sense because most of them went out at night, slept during the day. Sadly, there was a rare occurrence where you would bump into one of them, but today was an acceptance. It was 12:15, and the house was quiet. You assumed they were doing what they normally do, whatever they do. Most likely killing some unfortunate people and ruining lives. You opened up the old door with a loud creak, humming to yourself and dumping the bucket of filthy water outside. You turned back into the kitchen and walked into something. You looked up at the person and your body immediately filled with fear. Uh, so, I'm so sorry, you stuttered out. The tall being just simply stared down at you. Even though he didn't have a face, you could feel his eyes on you. When you were in the process of running the hall out of their tentacles wrapped its way around your waist and picked you up as so you were right in front of the bean again.
Where are you staring off, you little mouse?
He said as he tilted his head to the side. You just stared in fear, trying to get the words to come out. I was just going to finish my cleaning for the day. He remained silent for a moment, where you were wishing that when you were wishing he had a face, just as you could tell what he was thinking. At last, encounter didn't go very well. Your last encounter didn't go very well. He released you and continued to stare at you as if he was deciding what to say next.
The members of this household are growing tired of half-assed cooking. Jack tells me you know how to cook very well. Is that true?
You gulped. You were a very good cook. How Jack knew that was baffled beyond you, but you didn't want to disappoint the being at the risk of your body getting injured yet again. Oh my god. You didn't know how much longer your body would be able to hold up for. Yes, sir. God, you hated yourself for stuttering, but this being scared the shit out of you, and he knew it too.
Excellent. The supplies in the kitchen use as you must. We usually eat around 5 when everybody returns from their missions.
You stood in the doorway. If he was about to leave, he turned to face your trembling frame once again.
And please, make something that will care to everyone's needs, including the cannibals.
And with that, the being left the room, leaving you shaking. How are you supposed to cook with human parts? That's what I was thinking. That was just wrong in so many ways. Well, they're cannibals, they're freaking murderers. It doesn't matter. But if they wasn't satisfied, they might eat you instead. You cringed at the thought. You looked at the old ticking grandfather clock that stood in the corner of the kitchen. You had to get moving if you wanted to get it done. To get it done in time. It was almost 1:30 a.m. You didn't want to be late with everything. God only knows what they would do if you kept them waiting. You had a lot of mouths to feed. So with that being said, you quickly walked out of the kitchen to finish chores before starting dinner. Time skip. You cringed as you cut up a human kidney. You tried to convince yourself that it wasn't human meat. The smell was enough to convince you that it wasn't, but you had no choice but to continue. Once you finished, you dropped the kidney into one of the 2 pots you had cooking on the stove. To your surprise, the refrigerator was full of meat and products. You didn't realize serial killers took their nutrients so seriously. You decided the stew would be the best route to go. You would feed a lot of people, and you could make 2 pots, one beef, one human. That fact that you were cooking with human organs still made you feel really disgusted, but what other choice did you have? You pulled carrots, I can't read it, onions out of the refrigerator. You cut them up and put them in even amount in each pot. You always loved cooking. It made you feel really peaceful. And despite whatever was going on in your life, you pulled out the potatoes to the counter and walked over to the sink and began to wash them before cutting them and throwing them in the pot. In the process, you began to sing to yourself. Okay, I'm gonna try singing this. Don't be too harsh on me, please. Never fear for anything, never shame but never free. A life to heal the broken heart with all that it could. Lived a life so endless, saw beyond what others see. Tried to heal your broken heart with all that I had. Will you stay? Will you stay away forever? You covered the pot with lids to allow them to cook through partially, and turn the knob onto high heat. You looked at the clock. It was only 4, and all you had to do was wait. But what were you supposed to do now? You had already set the table. You began to search through the cabinets. Smile to yourself as you found all the ingredients to make your mom's famous cheesecake. You didn't care if they didn't eat it. Maybe it would make you feel better. You missed her so much. You hoped by making it you would be comforted in a way. You preheated the oven to 400 degrees. You began to make the batter and continued to sing. How do I live without the ones I love? Time still turns the pages of the book. It's burnt. Place and time always on my mind. I have so much to say, but you're so far away. You placed the batter into a greasy pie pan and placed it into the oven. Plans of what our future holds, a perfect chapter light to rest. Now and then I try to find a place in my mind where you can stay awake forever. How do I live without the ones I love? Time still turns the pages of the book. It's burnt. Place and time always on my mind. I have so much to say, but you're so far away. Little did you know, as you continued to sing and dance to yourself. A few curious people were spying on you. Little kitchen counter. The three proxies were standing in the kitchen doorway, watching you sing and dance around the room with mesmerized expressions. All three were snickering under their masks. They had just got home from doing business for the master in the household, and they smelled something that was actually appetizing. While they were walking past the kitchen, they wanted to see who was cooking, because no one in the household actually had an idea of how to do it. So you squealed once you turned around and realized that they were there. Before you could say something, the timer on the oven went off, indicating that the cheesecake was finished baking. You quickly walked over to it while the proxies laughed behind you. You picked up an old towel and pulled the cheesecake out of the oven. The smell began to fill the room. You turned and looked at the clock. It read 4:50. You were right on time. You turned around to go grab the soup lid and nearly crashed into the three proxies who were leaning over you. "What is that?" Masky asked, his eyes not leaving the cheesecake. "Oh, that's cheesecake." All three of them immediately grabbed forks and tried to dip in, but Slenderman walked in just in time and scolded them for almost spoiling their dinner. You sighed in relief. More people started to fill the room. Ben, Jeff, LJ, EJ, the proxies, Bridget, Milady, and the others all sat down at the table, all completely covered in blood. They clearly had a very busy night. Once everyone was seated, you carried the pots to the table and put them down. You awkwardly stood there as everyone began to eat. You didn't dare speak until you were spoken to. The only time was when the master asked what was human and what wasn't. Everyone seemed to be enjoying it. They all ate like slobs. This was expected. They were serial killers. After all, you wasn't expecting them to have manners. The stew went very quickly. You began to wonder if you should make another pot. They seemed satisfied, though. At least for now. You tried to block out the conversations. They were all talking about their nights and kills. Jeff shared a story of a woman he killed that night, and how she screamed and begged the table finished it very expecting. You began to think about how weird the situation was. Serial killers all sitting at a table eating dinner like a family, talking about their day. It made you really miss your mom. You wondered if you were ever going to see her again. Tears began to form in the corner of your eyes. You were taken out of your thoughts when someone spoke. You quickly looked into the distance, the direction of the voice. Someone was looking at you. Your face turned bright red. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention, I said. Where's the cheesecake? The Masky repeated clearly, being impatient. All right, you replied. You quickly walked over to the dining room, back into the kitchen. You returned with a few seconds later with a freshly baked cheesecake. The whole table stared at you in awe as if they never seen a dessert before. The second you put it down, the table was quickly evaded. After the feud was over, the crowd started leaving one by one. You were expecting any thanks you or something, but you quickly got infuriated once people began to thinking Laughing Jack Ben walked past you, slapping your butt, making you tense up and close your eyes. Oh my god. I was not expecting that. LJ should really let you out of his room more often. I love watching you work in the kitchen. Jeff laughed at the elf's comment. As well as you remain in the room, EJ glared at Ben, clearly annoyed, which the blonde man noticed and laughed it off. Relax, LJ. No need to freak. If you are not going to touch her, someone has to. Oh my god. A lady has needs, you know. Before LJ could say something, Ben disappeared in thin air. Wait, was Ben there the whole time? He was like freaking invisible? Cause I know he does like freaking spells or something. He's like ghost. Did he just like was he in there the whole time? He just was invisible? Cause I don't know. Okay, the room cleared except for the clown. They had left you with the messy dinner table and to clean up. You sighed. There was never an end to this. You walked over to the table and picked up all the plates and bowls before bringing them to the sink, cleaning them and putting them back where they belong. You continued the kitchen and dining room were cleaner than you were first. Began cooking. The clown didn't say a word, neither nor leaned a head to help you, but he watched you intently as you cleaning the aftermath of dinner. Okay. I feel like because of that comment that Ben said, and what Ben said, I feel like something's gonna happen. LJ's gonna do something that I don't. Okay, dang. Okay. LJ's point of view. I watched YN as she cleaned up the mess that we called kitchen. I would tell she was infuriated, and I found that quite amusing. Even since I marked her, they barely speak to her. Ever since I marked her, they barely speak to her, and that's how I liked it. Ben, however, was going to get it. Nobody touches my gumdrop like that. I marked her for a reason. Oh, like I'm gonna go. Go freaking. Okay. Once YN was finished cleaning, she just stared at the ground in defeat. At this point, she knew better than to argue. What a good girl. What a good girl. She listens. Gumdrop. You never ate, did you? She shook her head no, still staring at the floor. Of course, I knew the answer. If she even touched the food, her hand would have been cut off. Luckily, I knew this would happen. I reached out. I reached out a claw and picked up gently under her chin. I lifted her chin so she would look at me. Gumdrop. I giggled as I pulled a bowl of beef stew out of thin air. Her face lit up like a small child. I loved when she acted like a child. It made me want to kill her. Made me want to murder her on the spot. Yeah, I knew. Good. Cause I was about to say, if that was like totally different route, maybe you'd actually like her, then I would said that was wrong. The story's wrong, but okay, good. At least they got it right. They got it right. And though her intestines all over the room, but it wasn't the time for that just yet. She had to lose my first game. I may be crazy, but I do always play fair, at least most of the time. I watched as my haired girl scarfed down the stew. The poor thing. She's going to need all the strength she can get for round 2. She's almost healed enough to play again. She has no idea what's coming. Oh, yes. Okay, that is the end of chapter 27. I'm happy. I don't know if there's like 3 rounds or like 5 rounds or 4 rounds. I have no clue. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time I post a new video. And please consider hitting that like button. And bye.